Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. It is October 3rd. No, October. Is it 3rd or 4th? I don't even know. I think it's October 3rd. Mine is Morgan Colby. I got Rick.
3rd. I had to check.
Rick Lemon right across from me.
What's up?
I don't even know what day it is anymore.
I mean,
all the days are melding together.
It doesn't matter if you know the day or not. What matters is there football on today?
We were about to enter the greatest sports month of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty lit about that. Or actually, we're in it now. I guess October 3rd. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
On this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast, we break down Week 5 and discuss our favorite starts and sits for the week. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about the news. But first, be sure to do the following: like us on Twitter at the FF Champs, on Instagram at the Fantasy Champions, Facebook.com/the Fantasy Champions, all those places. Follow us on social media. Subscribe wherever you listen: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play. Click the bell on YouTube for notifications. Leave a review. Share this podcast with your friends. Let's get right into the news. The Bengals placed wide receiver John Ross, who got hurt on Monday night, on injured reserve today.
Every year in his career, he's been on IR.
GG.
Pretty much. I think, actually, yeah, every year of his career, he's been on IR.
Who's the other wide receiver?
Tyler Boyd.
No, we know Tyler Boyd's
there.
Is
it Tate?
Is it Auden Tate?
I think so.
Yeah.
I want to say that's his first name.
I'm not going to tell you to go out and pick up Auden Tate.
Yeah, I'm not.
I guarantee you some
Does AJ Green's value go back up?
I think it already was up.
I think it was kind of down.
if he comes back. When he comes.
Hopefully he comes back.
For
all you AJ Green owners.
We'll get to some practice news. Tyrell Williams did not practice today for the Oakland Raiders. So keep an eye on that situation or on Wednesday, I should say, as the week goes along. Deshaun Jackson abdomen has still remained sidelined this week. Sam Darnold did return to practice, but he cannot play until his spleen shrinks. So
Yikes.
There's that. No matter how good Sam Darnold feels, I guess today was the first day he felt okay running. So there's that. Saquon Barkley. I saw a video of Barkley literally doing. They said, he was jogging. He was full out sprinting and doing jump cuts up the field. So they said he might play. He's not been cleared for contact yet. But he might play Week 6 against the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. If he comes back that fast, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I would be freaking nervous.
I mean, if the Giants keep winning, it's not terrible. Barkley's just a different animal, dude. He's ridiculous.
Or he comes back too soon, freaking rips his...
I wouldn't want him to come back.
I would say wait until, more specifically, because the Saquon Barkley owner in one of my leagues I face in like 3 weeks. So. Devin Singletary made it back to practice in a limited fashion on Wednesday. He's still dealing with a hamstring injury.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad he didn't play against the Pats this week.
Yeah, that would have been suicide.
Yeah. T.Y. Hilton, quad, remained sidelined at Wednesday's practice, so Hilton is obviously becoming a little bit more of a concern. Hilton is always hurt.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
When asked about the Redskins' plan, this was hilarious. When asked about the Redskins' plan for quarterback in Week 5 against the Patriots, Coach Jay Gruden replied, "We don't have one." So are you going to play a quarterback, or are we just going to have...
They're going to call Uncle Rico.
Yeah. Stop. Yeah. I don't know how to respond to that.
You don't think they should play Uncle Rico?
I think they should play somebody. If they have to call Uncle Rico and play him for one game. I don't understand what they're doing right now, but I guess giving nothing to the Patriots is what they're doing. Fair enough.
That's fair.
Tyreek Hill returned to practice on Wednesday. He is coming back faster than expected as well. I wouldn't rush it because he did break a bone, so there's that. Yeah. But Damian Williams' knee also returned to practice for the Chiefs. So both Tyreek Hill and Damian Williams are back. I just want to give a little advice right now. If you have an opportunity to buy Tyreek Hill now before he comes back, do it. Because the second he comes back, he's going to be unbuyable from the owner who has them. He'll be like, oh, I can't trade him now.
Yeah.
Go out and buy Tyreek Hill.
I don't know if anyone's still selling them, though.
No, probably not. Coach Cliff Kingsbury said Kirk Cousins. It's because I was talking about that dig news we'll get to later.
Yeah, that you're sweating about.
Christian Kirk has an ankle injury. He is unlikely to play Week 5 against the Bengals. So keep an eye on that situation. Devontae Adams and Jamal Williams both remain sidelined at Wednesday's practice. I don't think Jamal Williams is going to play this week or probably next week, but Adams might play this week, so keep an eye on Adams. Not that you have Jamal Williams in your lineup. Or are you plan on having him in your lineup?
You might. Probably not a good idea.
Patriots kicker Steven Gostkowski placed on injury reserve. I guess he had to get hip surgery.
Now I have to get a new kicker.
This is like the first time I think on this podcast that we've ever talked about kickers.
Yeah, it probably will be the last.
The only thing I would say is if you have the opportunity, go pick up the Patriots replacement kicker. Gostkowski's always a top 5 option at kicker, so if you want to do that, then do that.
Probably.
Terry McLaurin also returned to practice Wednesday, so he's safe to play if you want to this week.
Against New England?
Probably not.
No.
And then the final piece of news we have is Stefon Diggs. He didn't practice on Wednesday. I guess it was the injury earlier today was undisclosed, so people were like, "Oh, what's the injury? What's going on with him?"
Yeah.
And then on the injury report, it said for non-injury related reasons. I guess Stefon Diggs was angry during and after the game on Sunday, just because of how that offense, similar to Adam Thielen, was angry because of how that offense passes the football. So and then there's a lot of rumors of trades floating around the Twitter sphere for Stefon Diggs. Nothing is confirmed. We don't even know if he wants a trade. But if the Vikings do trade him, I will be lit.
Yes.
I'll be very happy.
Jump out the window. Because you own Stefon Diggs in your fantasy league.
Yes, I do.
Honestly, if you own Diggs, you better hope he gets traded.
Yeah. Nothing's getting better. I would say that. I mean, not that Thielen's going to get traded, but I would think the same about him.
Oh, yeah.
That passing offense is just so bad. But keep an eye on that situation. I don't honestly think it'll end in a trade, but you got to keep an eye out for the warning shots.
I mean, it might. Honestly, it might the way it's going right now.
I think that's all we got for the news.
Is that all we got?
Yeah, dude.
Does that mean we can talk some football?
Yeah, let's talk football and not injuries.
Let's do it, Dan.
Would you just change the news segment to the injury segment because
that's all it ever is.
Yeah, that's all it ever is at this point. Let's go over some Week 5 matchups. We're gonna break down each position, talk about guys you should start, talk about guys you should sit based on matchup, and give you some options. Maybe if you're in a league and you desperately need a flex and you don't have one. I.e. myself.
That is, and me too this week.
He's like, and me too this week. So let's start with the Cardinals at the Bengals at 1 o'clock on Sunday. It is a 47.5 over-under for the game. We're going to start with the quarterbacks, Kyler Murray against Cincinnati and Cincinnati's defense, and Andy Dalton versus Arizona's defense. Dalton had a putrid game.
Brutal.
On Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was bad. It was like you thought that might be a good game for him, but he had a terrible game. Despite that, this is a good matchup for Andy Dalton.
It is, yeah.
And I would say a guy who's thrown 1,100 yards in the first 4 weeks of the season is probably a guy you should get in your lineup. I think he's a great streaming option for this week against the Cardinals.
Yeah, he is going to be one of those guys that just flies under the radar.
Yeah, and you'll probably see 25 points from him. He always poops his.
25's a little much.
He always poops his pants on night games.
No, it's true. And the Steelers, you watched the game, right?
Yeah,
unfortunately,
the whole thing.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
His offensive line did not help him at all.
Terrible.
They are terrible, but it's also the Steelers front seven was pretty good. The Cardinals don't have.
They ain't played like that all year though.
No, it's true, but they do have the talent.
Yeah.
Like T.J. Watt, and I think who's the rookie that they have with Bush? Devin Bush,
yeah.
Yeah. So he's pretty talented too. So they have guys up there.
Yeah.
The Cardinals aren't really that talented.
No, they're probably not going to.
Not at this point. So I think Andy Dalton at home, it'll be a little different too.
Also made. How many games was the cornerback suspended?
I want to say
Arizona
6.
Cardinals?
I'm going to look it
6?
Because
I keep bringing him up every week.
Yes, and we still don't know.
I still don't know. And then I'll just talk about Kyler Murray real quick. Murray against the Bengals is also a good start this week. If Kyler Murray happens to be, I know there are teams, and I don't know how long this is going to last, but there are still teams that like own him.
It is 6 games.
It is 6 games?
Yes.
Okay. So for Kyler Murray, I think a lot of teams do own him, but check your waiver wire.
Yeah.
See if Kyler Murray is available, because if he is, he's a guy that you could probably get in your
I'm
lineup.
starting Kyler Murray this week.
Yeah, I would too. I think he's a good streaming option, but I guess we'll see. As far as the running backs are concerned, David Johnson, Joe Mixon. David Johnson is obviously a must start.
Yep.
Get him in your lineups. He has been not very good
On the
rushing yards wise.
Yeah.
He has 173 rushing yards and 1 touchdown on 47 attempts. I am pulling up the yards per carry, but it's 3.6. So David Johnson has not improved at all from last season running the football. Basically, the only thing David Johnson has done well so far this year is catch the football.
Which, if you're a fantasy owner, that's all you care about.
And against Cincinnati, what is it, 47.5 point over under? Yeah, I would be concerned. So start David Johnson. Joe Mixon, do you think you should start him this week?
I'll talk about that a little later.
Okay, all right. Tyler Boyd, wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals. You also got Auden Tate, who we brought up before the show. Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk. So the Christian Kirk news is concerning. I would keep an eye on Christian Kirk as the week goes along.
Probably not going to play. Does that mean Fitzgerald is like a must start?
Yeah, Fitzgerald's a must start. I would say if you have Fitzgerald, start him. If you have Kirk, start him against Cincinnati.
Kirk's probably not going to play, though. I don't think
Kirk's not going to play. So that makes Larry Fitzgerald even more of a must start.
I agree, yeah.
And then for Cincinnati, with John Ross out and Auden Tate basically coming in and stepping into that John Ross role, is he somebody that you'd look to as at least like an option to pick up before the game and
maybe, but
see what happens?
I think at this point, when AJ Green comes back, it'll pretty much just be AJ Green and Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, they said not until after week 6, so you might have 2 good weeks of Auden Tate.
I mean, if you want to, if you need, like, if you really desperate
against Arizona. Yeah,
yes.
I don't even know if I would do that, but unless you're in like an extremely deep league,
right? That's what I was thinking, like a 14-team league.
He's like a low end wide receiver flex.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then Tyler Boyd, I think, is a must start against Arizona,
even though he burned everybody last week.
Yeah, even though he burned everyone last week, so I would start them. And then Eifert against Arizona. Now, normally I wouldn't put any like stock on Tyler Eifert and say no.
Yeah,
but Arizona has given up an average of 20-plus points a game to tight ends.
Ew.
Do you think this is something that Cincinnati might target in this game?
Maybe. Especially with John Ross out, I think Tyler Eifert is a start.
It makes me so nervous because it's like the first tight end that we're seeing that really doesn't get targeted that much.
Yeah. I know. He'll probably be touchdown dependent still. But I think
20 fantasy points a game.
If you need a tight end this week and Tyler Eifert's available, I'd probably go with him, honestly, as a streaming tight end.
Yeah, if you don't have any other options.
Of course, if you already have a good tight end, then you start that guy. But
I'm just going to look really fast before we move on to the next one where for the week, the Fantasy Pros ECR has him in terms of...
Because there's about 7 or 8.
Tyler Eifert is ranked number 12.
Okay.
So...
That's not bad for stream option.
Yeah, I would probably so let me go over the 11 guys in front of him according to this. Obviously, you would start him over Kelsey, Ingram, Ertz, Kittle, Mark Andrews.
You wouldn't start him over
you would. Waller, I would say Greg Olsen, Austin Hooper, probably Disley, and then the question marks would be Delaney Walker and Eric Ebron.
I would probably go with Eifert over Ebron.
And I would go Eifert over Delaney Walker. He's playing Buffalo.
Yeah, I would too.
I might even go Eifert over Austin Hooper against Houston.
Probably not that one, but I would do Delaney Walker and who was the other guy you said? It was Delaney Walker and
I don't remember.
Flip.
I went that fast right out of my mind. Eric Ebron.
Oh, yeah. That's why, because you hate Eric Ebron.
That's true. Let's move on to the next game. Falcons at Texans, 1 o'clock, 48.5 point over under. So there are some points to be scored in this game.
Yep.
The Falcons' offense has been relatively meh. But Matt Ryan is on pace for like 5,500 yards passing.
That's what he does.
He's thrown a lot of picks this year, but against Houston, does he make you nervous?
Oh, big time. Big time. Houston has been actually pretty solid defensively this year.
Yeah.
But I'm still probably starting Matt Ryan this week.
I might sit him depending on what you can do. Like
he's gonna be around. I think he's
the streamer guys that come to mind, guys we talked about.
I would start Jacoby Brissett this week over Matt Ryan. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Jacoby Brissett, guys like Andy Dalton, maybe like the Kyler Murrays of the world.
I would start Kyler Murray. Andy Dalton. I don't know.
I wouldn't start Andy Dalton over Matt Ryan either.
Yeah, but I get that. Okay. I would probably start Kyler Murray and Brissett over Matt Ryan, though, this week.
And then Deshaun Watson is a must start. Stick with him.
Yeah. He's up against Atlanta this week, too.
Yeah.
And
so it should be.
Going by the trends of good week, bad week, good week, bad week. He had a bad week last week, so.
Houston's at home.
Yep.
Could be a good game for Deshaun Watson. We have Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson from Houston. At this point, is it time to shut down the Houston running backs?
Yes.
For your fantasy team?
Yes.
I would say yes. A lot of people still own Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson, and
if you're gonna own one of them, it's probably Hyde.
You won't believe the amount of questions we get on our Twitter again, about Carlos Hyde.
Duke Johnson had another touchdown in his hands,
and he dropped it.
No, it was picked off. Like someone jumped in front of him and picked it off.
Yeah.
So that's like the third time this year he could have had a touchdown.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
And then Devonta Freeman has been an interesting situation. He has 47 rushing attempts, 0 touchdowns, 157 yards. He's averaging like 3.7 yards a carry.
Yeah.
He's been really bad. Is he somebody that you are not going to start against Houston? Houston has been mediocre against the run so far this year. They've been better than they have in the past, but they're still not great.
If I have better options, I'm probably not starting Devonta Freeman.
He's becoming a player to me at this point. You almost can't.
You can't start until he shows
that again. Yeah, right. And I don't know that that's going to happen. Against Houston, it's an extremely tough performance. So I would say sit Freeman.
Also in Houston too, it's like
that's tough. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley. Jones is obviously a must start against Houston. I would sit Calvin Ridley this week against Houston just because of how effective their defense can be.
Yeah.
He hasn't looked. He looks exactly the same. I think somebody paced out his numbers, Calvin Ridley's numbers, this year, and then compared them to last year, and it's basically identical.
I feel like there's just too many weapons. Like Sanu right now leads the team in catches. It's Hooper. It's Hooper, Sanu, Jones, Calvin Ridley.
Wait, that's weird.
I know it is weird.
Talk about that. But Julio Jones, I think, if he was to go down, Calvin Ridley would
that is true.
Get a giant value bump, but he'll probably. My point is, he'll probably see more consistency in terms of his fantasy production. But right now, he's just not a guy you can get in your lineup unless you have a desperate need for a wide receiver.
Correct.
And then for DeAndre Hopkins, he's been struggling. I wouldn't be concerned about him.
Still got to start,
especially against Atlanta.
Yeah.
Start him. He's probably going to have a DeAndre Hopkins week with 14 targets.
Right.
And then Will Fuller and Kenny Stills are guys I wouldn't even go near.
Yeah.
Austin Hooper, would you start him this week? I think we talk about him a little bit later, but would you start him this week against Houston?
I think you would probably have to start him, but I don't think he's going to have as good of a week as he's been having the last few.
Right.
So, but I would still start him.
Okay. Buccaneers at Saints, 47-point over under. Jameis the famous Winston. I love you.
Oh, gosh.
Finally comes back and absolutely steals my heart back. I drafted him, and then he ripped my soul out and had a bad game, and I dropped him after 1 week. Don't worry, Jameis. You're back on my team, and I'm not concerned about it. But the last 3 weeks, the guy has been freaking
very
insane. Against New Orleans. Now, the thing
in New Orleans,
the thing that has a lot of people concerned is that last week, who did New Orleans play? I'm blanking.
Your Cowboys.
My Cowboys, Dak Prescott. They faced Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott had 7 fantasy points.
Yep.
In the past 3 games before that, New Orleans had given up the most fantasy points.
But I've told you that was kind of inflated.
To the point. No, I'm not talking about Dak Prescott's performances. I'm talking about
No, I know. Like,
New Orleans giving
that
up.
Russell Wilson quote unquote torched the Saints defense because he scored 2 trash time touchdowns.
This is what I'll tell you. Coming into last week, they had given up the number 1 most fantasy points.
They have a good defense.
To quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Dak Prescott goes in, gets 7 fantasy points, and leaves. You know where they are at right now?
It's 31.
Number 2.
Yeah. I saw that. Wait, number 2 in the league?
Number 2 most. So that means they gave up so many fantasy points to quarterbacks that even a 7-point game.
But, let's go through their games really quickly. Because I think that's a super inflated stat. Because the Saints defense is legit.
I'm starting Jameis. I don't know about you.
Are you actually?
I might.
I'm not.
See, I would start Jameis Winston this week.
No, sir.
I don't understand why. This is what my point.
Well, are you starting Jameis Winston?
Who did they play first?
They played the Cowboys.
Yep.
Dak Prescott. Obviously, they stopped. But the first 3 weeks,
Russell Wilson's trash time.
Russell Wilson's trash time where he torched them in trash.
Yeah.
There was they scored a touchdown with 0 time left on the clock.
Yeah, right.
Deshaun Watson in week 1 when they were losing that whole game and he drove down last second, scored touchdown, kind of an inflated game. And then week 2 was in New Orleans, Jared Goff at home, where he scored, I think, 22 fantasy points, which isn't great, but it's not bad.
I think it's possible.
I'm not going to say Winston's going to be bad this week. I just think there's better options.
Probably. I would start Jameis Winston this week just because of that. Teddy Bridgewater is not somebody you should be starting. They're going to game manage the entire time. Yeah. He's not somebody... I noticed people picked him up with excitement, and then this week was the drop week on Teddy Bridgewater. So don't start him. Rojo against... and Peyton Barber, I'll throw him in there. But Ronald Jones has been getting more and more attempts as the week has gone along. As the weeks have gone along, he has had. I think this is what I realized today. He had the first 2 weeks, week 1 and week 2. I think that was Ronald Jones got the majority of the workload in week 1. Peyton Barber got the majority of the workload in week 2. I think that was the test weeks. Those were which guy can get it? And then when they figured out Ronald Jones was obviously the better running back.
I hope you're right because they were Ronald Jones a lot more than Peyton Barber.
But here's the problem. New Orleans has been one of the best rush defenses in the NFL this year. So I would not start Ronald Jones or Peyton Barber in this game if you have them. Just because you're only, right now, if you start him, you're only expecting 12 to 14 fantasy points from him. Mm-hmm. But against a tough matchup, it's even, you're just throwing darts at the wall and hoping, or throwing crap at the wall and hoping it sticks at that point.
Right.
So I would not start Ronald Jones in that game. I don't know if you disagree or
no. I agree with that. I'm not starting Ronald Jones.
And then Alvin Kamara must start. Yep. If you haven't dropped Latavius Murray yet, you're wasting your life away. Michael Thomas, I obviously start, and
he's actually been pretty solid while Drew Brees has been out. So far.
He's not. He's been doing the exact same thing.
Dropped out. Yeah.
And then Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Okay, so I really have no idea what's going to happen this week. We've seen it all. We've seen good games from both. We've seen them swap off with great performances. He had 20. Yeah. I think it was Chris Godwin had 23 points. Then Mike Evans had 36. And the following week after that, Chris Godwin gets 35. Do we see this continuing? Because it wasn't even a swap. Mike Evans had a good game too. He had 15 fantasy points.
I think. At this point, you got to start both of them, right?
Oh yeah. You 100%.
I don't know.
You don't have to choose which one's gonna be good. I think
chances are you probably don't have both on your fantasy team anyway.
Yeah. If you drafted, they're both starting. My goodness, I'm sorry.
That actually be go pick up the way it's been going.
Yeah, that's true. I would. Yeah. Choose one. You have both, and you can only start one.
It's still probably Mike Evans at this point.
Okay. OJ Howard is a drop, and Jared Cook don't even
is a drop.
Yeah, is a drop. Vikings at Giants. Kirk Cousins. I don't even want to talk about Kirk Cousins.
Man,
So
what a trash can he is.
Wow. You just went straight for the garbage.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I had faith in him this year, too.
good.
I had some faith.
Daniel Jones against Minnesota is a sit.
Yeah, don't do
Start Dalvin Cook, obviously.
Yep.
Gallman is a start. Is he a start this week against
I'll
Minnesota?
talk about that later.
All right. Sterling Shepard again. I think every piece of this Giants offense is not startable against Minnesota this week.
Okay.
I would say that.
Is
The only
Golden
thing I would
Tate, he's
mention,
coming back.
Golden Tate is coming
Yep.
back, and he was decent when he was he was good when he was with Detroit. So with him coming back and being the number one option in that offense, we'll see if he begins to impress. And a lot of people, he might still be on your waiver wire, so go get that. And then Adam Thielen, Stefan Diggs. This is a good matchup for both of them. Which guy are you starting?
Neither. They're both on my bench at this point. But if I have to, it's
Thielen
Adam.
has like 12 points a week.
If I have to, it's
not
it's
that
Thielen.
bad.
I'm probably starting Thielen.
Start Thielen
But
this week.
I really am not too confident in Thielen.
Yeah, I see. Part of me is like, let's just throw. I guess
This might be a week against the Giants, though, where Cousins has 3 touchdowns in the year, bro.
Yeah, but this also could be.
This
a
might
week
be a
that-
fourth.
This might be a week where Dalvin Cook gets fed the ball.
Oh, it will be.
Scores 5
It
touchdowns,
will be.
and then we call it a night.
Dalvin Cook is going to get
And
like
Adam
3 or
Thielen
4.
gets 3 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown.
And that's a good fantasy game for him.
Yeah, and Stefan Diggs should sit on your bench. Bears at Raiders, 1 o'clock, 40-point over-under. This should be interesting.
It might be the under.
You know what's?
It might be the under.
You know what's funny is that this is not even the lowest over-under of the week.
Are you serious?
Yeah, this is not the lowest over-under.
What's lower than this? Have we not gotten to the game yet?
I believe it's Jets and not Jets and Bills. It's Bills and Titans.
Oh, I mean, this might be worse than that game when it comes to scoring, honestly.
Yeah, I was like, why attack the Raiders? And then I was like, yeah, no.
So
Chase Daniels is going to start.
obviously, must
the
start
Chicago
fantasy-wise,
Bears.
of course.
Would you stream Chase?
No,
Chase Daniels?
I'm kidding. Please don't do that.
I just wanted to clarify for the people who take things literally. Derek Carr against Chicago as a sit. Josh Jacobs against Chicago as a sit. Tyrell Williams against Chicago as a sit. The only guy I would start possibly is my man's
Darren Waller.
And
even him, are you confident in him this week against Chicago?
I'm not fully confident, but
I actually think I agree with you. I think he'll probably be the best.
the chances are Oakland's probably going to be playing from behind in this game.
Right, exactly. Yep.
And you're going to see Darren Waller. He's the dump off. When everything else doesn't work, they throw it to Waller.
Which happens a lot.
Yes. So, and then as far as the Bears are
The
concerned,
battle of the rookie running backs
here we
between
go.
Josh Jacobs and
Who's
David Montgomery.
really better? And that doesn't even mean anything because Jacobs is going to have a terrible game. David Montgomery has had 58 opportunities and 200 yards. He's just under about. I got to do the calculation, but I think
It's
he's
not
just.
good.
I think he's just under 4 yards per carry.
This is going to be the week, I think, for Montgomery.
As a Montgomery owner, as a fantasy analyst,
as both no
3.4 yards a carry.
no for both because
He's like for
if
both.
he doesn't
I
have
promise
if
you.
he doesn't have a good week this week, you're done with him, right?
Yes. No, I'm not dropping him, but
Right, but you're like he's going to be on your bench permanently.
I wasn't starting Montgomery. The only
I know
week-
you weren't, but like
the only week
I wouldn't either, but
as a
I was
fantasy-
forced to
I've
because
advised,
of injuries.
I've
but
advised our community.
no, I agree.
To not start Montgomery
and you should
every
have.
single week.
This week, do you against Oakland?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what? No,
Oh.
because if I say the opposite of what's going to happen, Montgomery will do it.
So you're okay.
So I'm just
You're
going to
just a
do
fan.
psychological. Yeah, I think Montgomery. This could be a week where Montgomery has a good week.
Yes, I think Montgomery should have a good week this
But
week.
he has just been. It's the basic, boring, stupid
It
butt
really
play
is
calling
terrible.
of Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
Offensively, and you know what's terrible? Matt Nagy, because he's supposed to be an offensive-minded coach, right?
You know what's funny though? He does these unique things with the offense all the time and does like fancy plays and stuff. But anytime Montgomery's out there, he never does it. Like it's always for Tyreek Cohen, for all of their like motion stuff.
I think too, like
which kind of makes sense, but still,
David Montgomery's snap share has been increasing week by week.
it has.
And what will allow people to not know what's going to happen is not putting the guy out there when you're going to use him to run up the middle.
yeah,
Because every time they put him out there, it's like, okay, we're going to run it with you, David Montgomery.
Middle for 2 yards.
Right up the middle for 2 yards,
for 2
right.
yards.
And it's like every time they do that, it's so predictable.
Yeah.
So it's
really
like
is.
it's like watching the Ravens on offense. You know what I mean? Every time they put Mark Andrews in the game, it's going to be a pass play. And every time Mark Andrews is not on the field, it's going to be a run play. So it's like it's the same thing with David Montgomery. David Montgomery's on the field. It's going to be a run play. David Montgomery is not on the field. A guy like Tyreek Hill or Mike Davis is in the backfield. That's what's going to happen. So he makes me nervous to start this week, but against Oakland, it's as good a matchup as it's going to get. Yeah. I'd take the risk and I'd go for it, and then if he doesn't do it for you,
you're done.
You wait. Just wait until they get more creative, I guess. And then as far as the wide receivers are concerned, I don't. As a flex option, I'd probably start Allen Robinson. I would not start Taylor Gabriel. I know it's tempting after, he went
literally 1 week.
Yeah, the 1 week where he went off. I would start Allen Robinson this week just because he's against Oakland, and that's about it. But that would be a low-end flex option. And then Trey Burton against Oakland, are you in or out?
Oh, I'm out, dude. Not until he proves that he's a startable option.
The other thing you have to keep in mind is Chase Daniel is the starting quarterback.
Yes, you also have to remember that. Who actually played okay.
Let's move on to our final. There's only 2 4 o'clock games this week, but our final 1 o'clock game, Jets at Eagles, 44-point over-under. Wow. You just made a fart sound.
Yeah.
Why?
The Jets.
Yeah. Le'Veon Bell makes his return from the bye week. So we'll see how he kind of works out. Right now, we don't know if Sam Darnold's going to be active for Sunday.
Folk.
So it's probably going to be Luke Folk. The only guy in this offense, if it is Luke Folk, is Le'Veon Bell that I would go with. Le'Veon Bell's going to touch the ball 25 times.
Le'Veon Bell against the Eagles is not going to be fun.
Yeah, but still, he gets so many. He might get 10 catches, which just equals 5 fantasy
half
points.
PPR or PPR league.
Yeah.
He's still a start because he will get those catches.
In standard leagues, you might need to drop him. I mean, bench him.
Wow, someone save that clip.
I didn't mean to say drop Le'Veon Bell. Don't do that.
You just said it again.
Oh boy, I made it a clip. Now somebody can pull it and just.
It's just like
you told me
20-second
to drop
video
Le'Veon Bell.
Of you. Oh, there it is again. You just saying it.
Yes, I would. If you're in a standard league, I might consider sitting Le'Veon Bell this week.
Yeah,
it's a crazy thought because he is a top 5 running back, but like
I'd still probably start him just because you have Le'Veon Bell on your team. You have to start him, but I would be so nervous.
Yeah, don't expect a big week.
No.
And then as far as the other side of it, Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. Robbie Anderson and Jamison Crowder are benches this week.
If Sam Darnold plays,
Sam Darnold play, I would start Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, I agree.
No, I wouldn't start. Well, against Philadelphia's poor secondary, I would start Jamison Crowder. Yes, and then Chris Herndon will make his return this week. As far as the other side, Zach Ertz is a must start, so we'll get tight ends out of the way. Deshaun Jackson will probably not play this week. I think we talked about that earlier. Yeah, that he's probably going to be out. Alshon Jeffrey is a must start against New York, and then. As a low end flex option, if you got nobody else really on your team, Nelson Aguilar is a
Deshaun Jackson. With Deshaun Jackson out, he's probably a good start.
Yeah, he's probably safe to start. So not a lot. There's actually not a lot of fantasy options in this game,
especially if Darnold doesn't play.
Yeah, let's move on to
everyone on the Jets pretty much.
The last 4 games: Broncos at Chargers, 44-point over under. Joe Flacco sit. He's actually not been bad though. 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's not been atrocious.
Yeah. He's not been. He's honestly been okay.
He's on pace for 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions.
Yeah,
there you go. Joe Flacco, game managing quarterback. Phillip Rivers against Denver. What do you want to do with that?
I actually don't hate it. Gardner Minshew had a good week last week against Denver. Denver's defense has not been great this year, and Bradley Chubb also tore his ACL and is out for the season.
Wow.
Phillip Rivers is not a bad option this week.
So Phillip Rivers, I'm just trying to figure out where they land. Denver fantasy points given up to quarterbacks per game. So Denver has given up the 29th most fantasy points, which is It's so backwards. It's confusing.
It's
but
third worst, right?
Yeah, it's third worst for quarterback matchups. So Phillip Rivers,
Meaning
I would
it's a
say,
good matchup.
to me, I would say Rivers. Yeah, I would say Phillip Rivers is a sit this week just because of the bad matchup.
It's a bad. See, you confused me. You just by saying that confused me. I thought you were trying to say he's a good matchup.
The 29th most fantasy points means that they don't give up a lot of fantasy points.
Once again, I want to pull up the Denver.
And
Broncos
also the
schedule.
over/under 44 points is kind of low.
Yeah, that is true. And the fact that the Chargers will probably destroy the Broncos too.
Yep.
Meaning they probably won't throw a lot in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
But the Broncos, so there's a reason why that stat is that stat, I think. In week 1, they played against Mitch Trubisky.
Bro, their defense is good.
They played
like you're acting like Denver's defense is never been.
They played Derek Carr, Mitch Trubisky, Aaron Rodgers, and Gardner Minshew. And
So
they gave up like 25
Their
points to
defense
Minshew.
has been worse.
It's been worse, and they just lost their best defensive player.
I don't know.
He just tore his ACL this week.
Yeah, but they... Who's their best defensive player?
Bradley Chubb. You can... Okay, Von Miller probably, but...
I was going to say, but their secondary is still good.
It's okay. It's solid. And they're also on the road. They play a lot better at home than they do on the road.
All right. Well, I don't like Phillip Rivers this week, so there's that.
Okay.
The running backs, Philip Lindsay or Royce Freeman. Your guess is as good as mine. It literally is the snap share is split right down the middle, so it really just depends on what week. Like
probably not starting either. Still,
yeah,
maybe Lindsay in a flex, but probably not.
See, I think if you're okay with starting Lindsay, you should be okay with starting Freeman.
Well, I was just gonna say Freeman maybe too in a flex, but I said maybe. Like I'm not.
Yeah, but that's my thing is like it's not Philip Lindsay or Royce Freeman. It's literally.
Yeah, but Lindsay,
you're going to get 10 points from Lindsay, and you're going to get 10 points from Freeman. That's what it's going to be. If one gets hurt, the other one gets 20 fantasy points. But that's not going to happen. So I sit them on the bench because you just don't know what you're going to get. But
I agree with that.
Freeman has been touching the ball more overall just through the air because he's the better pass catcher than Philip Lindsay. So
people would argue that Lindsay's better.
He didn't catch any passes last year, and this year he looked okay in the passing game, but Freeman has gotten more work. So, I mean, it just depends. To me, I think the upside for either one of these guys just depends on red zone touches. That's about it.
And the other person getting hurt.
Yeah. If Royce Freeman's used in the red zone a lot this weekend, then I would think that Royce Freeman ends up being the guy to score the touchdown and get in. But it's just it's questionable, and they never get in the right area anyway. So
yeah.
And then for Melvin Gordon or Austin Eckler, I think
Melvin Gordon.
I think
first game.
Both are okay starts, but Melvin is a concern. Like if you have your rankings, Austin Eckler is like 20 and Melvin Gordon's like 21.
Okay.
And like it just because Melvin's going to split snaps, he's going to be eased back into the workload, and because he's going to be eased back in, and they're going to be taking work from Austin Eckler, right?
Yeah.
It's basically going to be a no good situation all around for both.
As a Melvin Gordon owner, I agree with you.
I'm probably going to start Melvin Gordon in one of my leagues.
I'm starting Melvin Gordon this week still. I think if you have Melvin Gordon, you probably have to start him. I don't care if he's going to split.
Against Denver?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as far as the wide receivers are concerned, I would start Keenan Allen this week, obviously.
Yeah, dirt.
And then as far as the other side, Emmanuel Sanders. I just mixed his name together.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders and Cortland Sutton. Sutton was one of the waiver wire pickups for us of the week.
Yep.
He has 22 receptions, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. Emmanuel Sanders, 23 receptions, 298 yards, and 2 freaking touchdowns.
Wow,
So I would say that against Los Angeles, both of these guys would be sits for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
both of these.
Those guys are both matchup dependent.
Let's move on to our next matchup. Packers at Cowboys. The over-under goes up 47-point over-under.
America's game of the week.
Yeah, we'll talk about Rodgers later.
Okay.
Dak Prescott, is he a start this week against Green Bay? Green Bay has had a great pass defense and a terrible rush defense.
I think there's better options than Dak this week. I think he'll be okay at home. He'll get you like 15 to 20 points, but that'll probably be all he does.
In a game that I would think is going to be relatively close,
yes.
Zeke's going to eat.
Oh yeah, Zeke. This is the Zeke week.
This is the Zeke. This is the Zeke week. I like that. I think he scores like around 30 points. That Green Bay Packers rush defense is so
very possible.
Bad. And like against Miami, I think the numbers are getting fudged on Miami. Like people were like freaking out because of how bad Miami is. But the problem is you go up by 21 to 28 points in the first half against Miami, and then nothing else. Like backups start going in, and it doesn't end up being as good a situation for fantasy as you thought. Like Zeke scored 14 fantasy points against Miami. It's because they put Pollard in.
Yeah.
But last game, Pollard didn't even touch the field against New Orleans, I think it was. So, yeah, Zeke is a start this week. Aaron Jones on the other side of it against Dallas.
You still have to start.
It's a mediocre matchup, but he's a start. Yeah, I don't think so.
Especially with Jamal Williams out.
If he gets more work, he's a start. Devontae Adams, if he does play, obvious start. If he does not play, Valdez-Scantling or Geronimo Allison.
I'm like picking between... I don't know, man.
He's like,
I'd probably go with Scantling, but I'm not comfortable with either of them, to be honest. Even with Adams out, because I don't know which one's going to do well, you know?
I might go Geronimo Allison because he fits the Devontae Adams role better than Scantling does. But
yeah.
I don't know. It really... if Adams doesn't play... If Adams doesn't play, you could start... You
could start either of them.
Chances are you probably don't have both, and you don't have to make that decision. But, yeah. So, Jimmy Graham, is he a start this week against the Cowboys or no?
No.
Okay.
I think Graham could be a matchup dependent. Okay, start some weeks, but not against Dallas.
Amari Cooper, I think is going to be a tough matchup, but he's an obvious start.
Yep.
Don't start Randall Cobb or Michael Gallup. If you have either one of them, Michael Gallup has returned to practice, I believe, so he should be a guy that is going to be back. Not that you want to play him
right, yeah,
with Randall Cobb back. And then Jason Witten against the Packers D is a sit too. So
yeah.
I think any receiving options for the Cowboys is probably going to be a sit. Let's move on to the Colts and the Chiefs. This is the highest over-under of the week, 56.5.
Wow.
This is ridiculous. So Jacoby Brissett, I think, is a must-start.
Agreed.
If you have him, he's a must-start. He has 911 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's going to be playing from behind.
Yep.
Jacoby Brissett's going to give you a good week.
Quarterbacks that have faced the Chiefs this year have succeeded.
And then don't start Mahomes, obviously.
But duh. Who would do that?
Who would start Mahomes? Mahomes is yet to throw an interception this year.
That's ridiculous.
Frick me. Marlon Mack or LaShawn McCoy / Damian Williams / Darrell Williams /
wow,
Darwin
that's
Thompson.
totally fun.
I wouldn't start any.
If
Chiefs
all of them
week.
play, or if 3 of them play, I'm not starting any. I'm not starting McCoy.
Yeah.
I'm not starting Damian Williams. I'm not starting.
Well, yeah, especially the way Darrell Williams has been playing. I think he's going to carve himself out a role in that offense. Yeah, and
they're going to use all 3 guys.
They're going to use all 3 guys. I don't like any of them anymore. If one of them's out, yeah, if Damian Williams does not play this week, Darrell Williams is probably a must go in your flex. But outside
what about
of that,
receivers too on the Chiefs? Do you are you comfortable with starting any of them right now?
I think you have to start Watkins. He's getting the target share.
Watkins, I think you do start, but the last other than week 1 where he blew up, he has been so.
He's been generic.
I mean, borderline bad. For a wide receiver in fantasy football, you want to hear the half PPR numbers?
What?
42 points in week 1.
Yep.
Then 7, 8, and 4.
Yeah, he hasn't been good. I mean, here's the thing that I've always talked about with the Chiefs offense. I don't like Demarcus Robinson, and I don't start him. But if you have Watkins or Hardman, they're in the Chiefs offense, and you have Patrick Mahomes.
I think you still start Watkins.
You still start Watkins, and I think you start Hardman if you need like a blow-up performance against a difficult team. You know what I mean? Because if you're going to lose anyway, you might as well throw Hardman in there and hope he gets like 25 points. You know what I mean?
Right.
We didn't discuss Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack against KC.
He's had a very down year, but
he's not involved very much in the passing game. Kansas City's rush defense has been better. He hasn't had a really good year, and they're going to be passing the ball a lot in this game. I don't like Marlon Mack in this game, but I think you kind of have to start him.
I would start him too because the Chiefs have struggled against the run hard this year.
Yeah.
I think the Colts are going to try to run it at least in the beginning of the game. That's when Marlon Mack can get his points.
Yep. Ebron can suck it.
He's not going to get 20 fantasy points though, but I think he'll have a decent enough week where you should start him.
Travis Kelce must start. Eric Ebron don't start. T.Y. Hilton against the Chiefs defense. If he plays, he's a go. If he doesn't, obviously don't start him. But Paris Campbell, do you think Paris Campbell is a guy that you could look to?
I mean, if T.Y. Hilton's out, maybe.
If T.Y.'s out.
Because I think it'll be a high-scoring game, so he could be like a low-end option.
Yeah, low-end flex
If T.Y. Hilton is in, I'm probably not doing that, though.
Yeah. And the final game of the week, Browns at 49ers. Another Monday night Browns game. 46.5 point over-under.
This should actually be a pretty good game.
It should be a good game. Hopefully Baker doesn't look like complete garbage anymore. He's thrown 1,100 yards, and he's like on pace for like 4,700 yards passing. But he's also on pace for only like 18 touchdowns and like freaking 20 interceptions.
Yeah.
Okay, get it, Baker. I think at some point Baker's going to be normal, and he'll get back to what he did last year. And I think at some point this offense is going to start functioning. We've seen pieces of it work.
Yeah.
We've seen Odell rip off an 80-yard touchdown
We've seen
run.
Nick Chubb
We've
run.
seen Baker make some pretty lit passes, and we've seen Nick Chubb have like a 30-40 fantasy point game.
He had an 86-yard run.
So it's like you see pieces of this offense working. Last week they had like 40 points altogether in the game, I believe. So I think Cleveland's coming back slowly. But the play calling needs to get better, and Baker needs to play better.
And the offensive line needs to play better.
If you haven't dropped Baker already, you probably should do that at this point.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo, is he a start against the Browns?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
As far as running backs, Nick Chubb must start. Coleman comes back in this game. Tevin and Matt Breida, unfortunately for Breida, I don't know if he was hurt, but Breida has not been great so far this year. He's shown signs of being really good and then signs of being really bad. He is clearly at this point, to me, when I watch the games, Raheem Mostert looks like the 2 for some strange reason. And I'm thinking Matt Breida might be the 3rd running back. So with Coleman, coming back,
Breida's had some really good runs
before Coleman got hurt.
I don't know if I agree.
I'm just saying. I'm saying what I'm seeing. Not that I think Breida sucks, just that I think the amount of opportunity he's getting in the 49ers offense, it looks like he's the 3rd guy.
Yeah,
but anyway,
that could be true. But
Tevin Coleman coming back in that offense, he was already the number 1 running back in the system. Yeah. I think they're going to utilize Breida and Raheem Mostert in some kind of fashion in this context. But when you go back to game 1, before Tevin Coleman got hurt, Matt Breida did not see the field until after Coleman got hurt. So for me, Coleman coming back, he's definitely I don't think he's a start this week. You have to see how he kind of works out.
Yeah, Coleman coming back just ruined the whole backfield fantasy-wise.
I don't think it ruined the fantasy. I think the one fantasy relevant guy back there is Tevin Coleman. In the offense, when he's getting like two.
Starting any of them,
I'm not starting anyone either. I'm just saying, pick up Tevin Coleman now before. He has a good game. Like Tevin Coleman was always that 12 to 14 point guy when he was with Atlanta, and inside the what's his name?
Kyle
Shanahan offense. Running backs always succeed, and if he's getting 2/3 of the snap, is he
going to get 2/3?
I think he is.
Okay,
I think he will because I don't think they want. I think they brought Coleman in for a reason, and I think that because they're splitting snaps between Breida and Mostert.
Did they think Mostert would be this good?
I don't know if I'd say this good, but even Jeff Wilson was getting like the goal line carries. So for me, I think Coleman's going to get a lot of the work, and he's going to get the goal line work. So it's like
he will get the goal line work. I just don't know how much.
I just have seen this offense, and I've seen how well they run.
No, I agree. They do run the football
and
well.
If Coleman does take,
but I think they're going to want to use all 3 guys.
First and second down. I don't think they're going to. I mean, they'll use 2. I don't think they're going to use all 3. I don't think they look at Coleman and say, "Oh, he's trash." Like I think they utilize Mostert and Breida as much as they did, just because they were like, "Okay, we don't have a running back, we got to panic."
but those guys were very, very good.
You were very against Coleman, and I don't understand it. It's a gross. It's a gross name, but I think in that offense,
it's not even that. It's just
Coleman
they have 3 running backs. I think they think can play. I mean, we'll see this week.
I know how they wanted to utilize Coleman, and they're probably.
I know how they wanted to. Before the season started, yes.
I don't know. I think Coleman's going to take a lot of that work. Marquise Goodwin, Damian Williams, Deebo Samuel, Dante Pettis, all not starts. George Kittle is a start. And then as far as the other side of the football, you have Odell Beckham. He has had a difficult start to the season, and people probably would be panicking more if he didn't have that 80-something yard touchdown catch. Are you concerned about Odell?
A little bit. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 fantasy receiver.
I'm sounding the sirens. No.
He'll be good.
Is he a top 5 wide receiver? Because he's still being ranked like that.
I don't think he's top.
Okay, so
he'll be top 10, but not top 5.
It's tough because the passing offense has been so bad. But if you have a guy like Odell and a talent like Odell,
he's going to have games where he rips off like an 80-yard touchdown again.
Right.
That's not just a fluke. Like, that happens with Odell. So it's kind of like the Juju effect a little bit.
He's unfortunately been trapped in offenses that don't target him 160 times, like Julio and all those guys.
Yeah.
But over the course of the first 4 games last year, he had 22, 9, 19, and 14. And it wasn't until later, and that's in full PPR. It wasn't until like after week 5. At week 5, he had 32 full PPR fantasy points against Carolina last year. But it wasn't until after that point that he started to actually produce as a number 1 fantasy option.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to take time for Odell in that offense. And I thought it might. The problem with the Browns has been the fact that they didn't play any of their starting unit together in the preseason. They played Baker a lot with the backups.
Yeah, they were trying to keep everyone healthy, but because of that,
yeah. So
not everybody's on the same page.
I would think at this point Odell is obviously a start, but keep an eye on it. If he continues to struggle, the sell window closes very slowly on him. So it's like the name is big right now, and it's like he's easy to sell now. But if he has 3 or 4 bad games in the next couple weeks, Odell's window is going to get. He has a tough schedule. It's going to get smaller. So we got to see Odell be Odell. But I think that's all we got for this matchup. Let's move into our starts and sits really quickly because we have no time left in the show.
Do you want to just quickly go over them?
Yes. So I'll go over my quarterbacks really fast. Jameis Winston against New Orleans. I told you before, I think he's a start this week because New Orleans has had. They've given up, even with that Dak Prescott terrible performance, they've given up the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks. And I think that the way Jameis Winston has been playing, the weapons that he has around him and everything comes together for him. So I think ultimately Jameis Winston will have a good game. Are you
saying this because he's on your fantasy team?
No, I'm not saying this. I'm saying this because I think I might start him. No, I think he's a start this week just because New Orleans is not as good defensively as people think they are.
Oh, disagree with that.
People are like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to start anyone against the New Orleans Saints pass defense." And it's like, no, let's relax on.
I look at fantasy and
Dak Prescott,
not a good defense.
Dak Prescott. What did you say?
Nothing. I roasted you. I said
Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense is always extremely inconsistent. So we can't look at that game and say, "Oh, this is what's going to happen." I just think that Jameis Winston, not that he's a better quarterback than Dak Prescott, but I think Bruce Arians runs a better offensive system than the Cowboys have.
Okay.
So I would say Jameis Winston is a start. And then my sit of the week is a little bit, it's a shocker. Don't start Aaron Rodgers against Dallas.
Oh.
He's in Dallas against a very difficult Dallas defense. He might be back, but then he also might don't forget those 13-point weeks, people. Don't forget them.
Yeah. He's matchup dependent.
If he becomes this is the game where we're going to find out if he's matchup dependent.
I think he is. So,
and if he is, then I would sit Aaron Rodgers. If you have a better option, sit Aaron Rodgers. But if you don't, then you're forced to start him.
Okay. My start of the week is Jacoby Brissett. Brissett against the Chiefs. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. Is a very good play. The Chiefs struggle against defenses or against quarterbacks this season.
Right.
The Colts are going to be losing a lot in that game. So Jacoby Brissett is going to be forced to throw the ball a lot and keep pace with that Chiefs offense. And he's played very good this year. He's the 9th ranked fantasy quarterback so far through 4 games. So Jacoby Brissett, I think, is a good start. And then for sit, it's our classic week of start 'em, sit 'em, Jared Goff. He's on the road this week.
Sit him. Sit him down.
Against Seattle in a Thursday night game.
Just pencil him in.
Don't like that. You want to know Goff's numbers this year?
Yeah.
So we've had him as a start and sit every week, home and the road, right?
Yeah.
We have him usually as a sit.
Mm-hmm.
He, on the road this year, he had 10 points and 16 points.
Wow.
And then at home, he had 20 and 23.
Sounds about
So
right.
at home, he's a solid option. On the road,
There's a
not good
reason
option.
behind that, too.
There is.
And it's because when there's crowd noise, he can't hear Sean McVay's pre-snap reads.
I'm not starting Jared Goff this week.
Yeah. My start of the week at running back is Miles Sanders against the Jets. I'm saying not to do Jordan Howard because that's the easy option right there.
Okay.
I'll take this little sleeper pick of Miles Sanders. The week before,
his breakout game
when he fumbled twice, he had 17 touches in that game. If he gets 15 to 17 touches in this game, he's efficient and talented enough behind a good offensive line and in a good matchup that he will produce 12 to 15 fantasy points. So I think he's a safe play this week. It sounds crazy because a lot of people are even considering dropping him, but this might be a good game for Miles Sanders. Now, I probably will get that wrong, but it's worth a shot in the dark. And then my sit is Josh Jacobs against Chicago. Chicago has had the second best rush defense in the NFL behind
New England,
Philadelphia
Oh,
Eagles.
is it Philly?
Yeah. New England has.
Oh, that's right, because, yeah.
But Josh Jacobs, this is the week where you got to sit him. He's been good against good matchups, bad against bad matchups. He's not matchup dependent at this point. He might be next year, he might be the year after, but in his rookie season, he's definitely hitting a wall against good defenses, and Oakland's probably going to be passing a lot in this game anyway. So I would sit Josh Jacobs.
Okay. For my start, a lot of people, it seems like an obvious one, but a lot of people have given up on him. He's been dropped in 2 of my leagues that I'm in right now. It's Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon has not had a good year. I understand that. With the John Ross injury, though, I feel like at home, this could be a week where Joe Mixon finally has a very good week. He's up against the Cardinals, who struggle greatly against the run. And this is a game where, honestly, the Bengals could win. I don't think they will because the Bengals, but it's the first time this year I've looked at it and said they have an actual chance of winning. And if that's the case, they'll use Joe Mixon even more because they'll have, control of the game, hopefully.
Right.
So I actually like Mixon. The last 2 weeks he's been getting better too.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 weeks he was atrocious, but the last 2 weeks he's been okay. I think this is a good matchup for him at home, and he's worth the play. For me, the sit, Wayne Gollum. Gooberman.
He says Gollum. It's
Gollum.
like Gall-man.
Gallman. The boogeyman. I don't care.
Whatever it is.
I'm not starting him this week. I know he had a great week last
That's an
week.
easy one, bro.
Is it? Because he had a very good week last week, and a lot of people are still drinking the juice right now. Half PPR, dude, he had 25 fantasy points.
Yeah.
Last week.
One more.
And you said don't even start him.
Don't start him this week. I didn't want to start him last week because we didn't know what he was going to be.
I said to start him, just saying. And after saying to start him last week, I'm telling you to sit him this week against Minnesota. Minnesota has a good rush defense.
Yeah.
He had a touchdown in the air last week. I don't know if that's going to happen. I just think this week it's going to be a little bit of a reality check.
Yep. My start of the week at wide receiver, Marquise Brown against Pittsburgh. Marquise Brown has not been good the last couple weeks, but I think he's worth at least a flex option.
Okay.
And the reason why I say this is because Pittsburgh has given up a poop ton of fantasy points to wide receivers. So start Marquise Brown. And then my sit of the week is DJ Chark. DJ Chark has been a guy that you wanted to start in your lineup on a week-to-week basis, but against Carolina, it's a tough matchup. I don't think they're going to have a great time throwing the football. The over-under is pretty low for this game, so I would say sit DJ Chark.
Okay. For me, I'm starting Julian Edelman this week as my start of the week.
Why not Josh Gordon, bro?
Nah, dude. His numbers hasn't been fantastic this year, And people will look at last week and see that half PPR, he got 5 fantasy points and be like, oh, well, he burned me last week. Well, he played a half of football, and he was or was that in week 3 where he got hurt?
I don't know. I don't remember. But continue.
Well, either way, one of these weeks he played a half of football. I think it was week 3, actually, now I'm thinking about it. But even so, he would have been on pace for like a 25-point week.
Yeah.
He's got a good matchup this week against Washington. I think the Patriots offense as a whole bounces back after a rough week against Buffalo. And I think Julian Edelman will be the guy leading the way for the Patriots offense fantasy-wise. My sit is Tyrell Williams against Chicago. I do think I agree with you that they probably will throw the ball a lot.
But it's going to be the Walrus.
It's probably going to be the Waller, and it doesn't mean it'll be successful. This is a game where I could see the Raiders getting like single-digit points.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a chance Tyrell Williams could get a decent amount of catches and targets, but I highly doubt he gets a touchdown this week.
Yep.
This is a week where he's got a very low ceiling. I just wouldn't start Tyrell Williams. I think there's better options. And I know he's had a good year, but very, very tough matchup.
Sounds good. Our start of the week, joint start of the week,
yes, we have a joint
tight end is Greg Olsen.
Once again, a joint Greg Olsen take.
Yeah, joint Greg Olsen.
And it worked
take.
last week.
Jacksonville has been pretty porous against tight ends, so just start him. And then my sit of the week at tight end is Austin Hooper against Houston. Houston has given up not many fantasy points to the tight end position this year.
Okay. Right.
So I would not start Austin Hooper this week. I think there's going to be other options in the Houston game for Atlanta, and I don't think that Hooper has these big games and they makes you sweaty, and then he has these bad games and makes you go, why did I start him? And this is the week where you say, why did I start him? So don't start him. Don't even be that. Just sit Austin Hooper.
I don't know why, but Gerald Everett last week was a play.
For who?
So the guy I faced in fantasy, and then he scored 13 fantasy points.
Dang.
Don't start Gerald Everett this week.
Oh, well.
Or
simple.
every week.
That'll do it for our starts and sits segment for week 5. We are already past week 5.
Did you just say week 5?
That's crazy.
Yikes.
Don't forget to check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Do all that good stuff. See you on Tuesday, Fantasy Champs.
Peace out.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.